So, who decided to take NASCAR's most harrowing, horrifying, hair-raising crapshoot and make it even less predictable? Oh yeah, it was you, the fans, that demanded a new Bristol. Well, now you've got it, even if we're not sure exactly what it is. Be careful what you wish for.
As if Bristol wasn't exciting enough, I guess we should be saying thank you to the fans. Welcome to Thunder Valley, my friends. Welcome to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Countdown. You know, when the schedules come out, this race is always highlighted. It's always circled. And not just for you, the fans. The drivers do it. Jimmy Johnson, he's had some success here. I bet he's had this race circled. You know who else has had this race circled? Brad Keselowski. He's going for his third straight Bristol race. Nothing about this race is normal, and just about everything about this race is cool.
Thank you guys for having us here. I hope you guys enjoy the race. It's going to be a wild one tonight, guys. Thank you.
Trust me, with all of that going on, why would we want to be anywhere else but in the middle of it all? My friends, welcome to Bristol Motor Speedway. Welcome inside the racetrack. I'm Nicole Briscoe alongside Rusty Wallace, Ray Evernham, and Brad Doherty. I kid you not, Denny Hamlin just did the Dougie. This is the coolest place to be on this night. You wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And since the last time we were here, we have a lot of things going on, a lot of changes. Burton Smith, thanks to some vocal fans who decided they didn't really like the action they were seeing in the spring, they shaved off the top 2 degrees of banking, leaving us with this new version of the old, but not quite the old, new Bristol.
Yeah.
And a lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks, but, you know, we saw last night in the nationwide race, we saw good, hard side-by-side racing. What it did not accomplish was the one-groove racetrack that I think a lot of the fans wanted to see, where you'd have the beating and banging. But what it did give us is exceptional racing, where you do not have a lot of room for error. The racing quarters are very, very tight. So when you make a mistake, it sweeps a lot of different people up into your accident. You'll have a little bit of incidental contact, accidental contact, but not on purpose.
And there are some unknowns, but the known is that the track is narrower, but it didn't change grooves. It just reduced the space in between the cars. And tonight, with the Cup cars, with more power, longer race, maybe a little more frustration, might see some rubbing as racing.
Well, guys, we saw the truck race, we saw the nationwide race, and what they did on the racetrack. But tonight, with the Cup cars, with that extra horsepower, about 200 more horsepower, they're really going to move the groove up here. I think we're going to see some crashing. I think we're going to see some banging. And I think the old Bristol's going to come back a little bit. Maybe not as much as it used to be, but I'll tell you one thing. This is going to be one whale of a night. It's electric right here. I can feel it in the atmosphere that things are getting ready to get crazy.
What are 3 things that do not belong together? Patience, frustration,
And television?
and Bristol, race car drivers. Here's another wrench that's been thrown into the mix. Yesterday, during Sprint Cup Series qualifying, a thunderstorm. It was rained out, so the field tonight is set based on practice time, the very first practice time. So the Coors Light Pole Award winner, Casey Mears. He'll start alongside Brad Keselowski. This whole situation has given us a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But really, the top 10, not surprising, outside of the pole sitter, Casey Mears. But how about these guys? A little bit of the bad. Tony Stewart in 21st. Sam Hornish Jr. in 29th.
Yeah, those guys are going to have to do some strategy to get the cars up their front. Tony Stewart's got a fast hot rod, I call it. And Sam Hornish, this guy's been red hot. He's been really good for Team Penske. They can get up there to the coal, but they're going to take some 2 tires and some strategy to make it happen early.
Then there are the uglies. Jimmy Johnson in 37th, and Danica Patrick in her first ever Bristol race in a Cup car, 43rd.
Yeah, we saw Danica last night have some success in the nationwide race. She ran the bottom of the track, did an excellent job. Around 40th position, 40 to 45th is where she practiced, though, in the Cup car. So I'm not surprised she's there. She'll get some quality seat time tonight. Jimmy Johnson, on the other hand, he's got to be very, very careful. I don't have to explain to the fans at home that he's going to have to make his way through a hornet's nest that's going to be going on all night long.
And here's another one that you may have noticed. He starts 27th, Carl Edwards, on a night that is already filled with a whole bunch of uncertainty. Dr. Jerry Punch, Carl Edwards could sure use a win.
Absolutely, Nicole. It's just this simple. If Carl wins, he's in the chase. But not easier said than done, Carl. You got to beat 42 other drivers. And a racetrack you've never raced on before, a little bit different. What's the biggest unknown? unknown for you tonight?
You know, I think the biggest unknown is just how the last run of the checkered flag will be. You never know how the strategy is going to work out. The good thing is we do know how to win here. We've won 2 of these night races. Chad Norris, all the guys on this Fastenal team are working very hard. We're in a box here, kind of being in the back. It's going to make us have to go out on a limb with strategy, but there's no better place to do that than here. I think we can get it done tonight, and we've got 2 other good racetracks coming up. So we're in this thing to win it. We got nothing to lose, and hopefully tonight we get to victory lane.
Good luck tonight, and thanks for being our in-race reporter, by the way.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That'll be fun. I forgot I was doing that.
All right, if you want to offer a question for Carl to answer, log on to ESPN.com, and the key phrase in-race reporter and DJ Dale Jarrett may ask him that question of yours on the parade lap. Here's Dave Burns.
A second 2012 win is not the only chase-making scenario for Kyle Busch, but a win would put you a lot closer to in. How good's your race car? What are the possibilities of that?
I think our M&M's Camry's pretty good. You know, looking forward to a good night tonight. Feel like Dave and the guys have done a nice job giving us a good car through practice, so hopefully we can back that up with a good car here tonight. You know, it's any man's game. You know, earlier in the spring we had a really good car too, and we wrecked on lap 25. So, you know, anything can happen here at Bristol. That's the fact of the matter you got to run in with.
Finished 3rd in the Nationwide Series race last night. Starts 10th this evening. Vince Welch.
Jeff Gordon desperately needs a win to make the chase. This is a good place for him to do it. A 5-time winner at Bristol. When you won your races here at Bristol, the bump and run was an art form. So how aggressive are you willing to get number 6 tonight?
We're going to be pretty aggressive tonight. You know, we really don't have anything to lose. And we've got a good race car. Exciting to have Farmville on board our Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet. So we're doing some great things for the Drive to End Hunger program, but we're going to try to do some great things on the track as well. You know, this is a track that we feel, really the next 3 are tracks that I feel like, you know, we have a great shot at getting a win and getting ourselves in this chase. And tonight, you're going to have to be smart. Sometimes you're going to have to be patient, but I think at the end of this thing, you're going to have to be aggressive.
Yeah, the next 3 tracks, Jeff Gordon has 12 career victories. He'll start 11th today, Nicole.
As we all know by now, the top 10 in points make the chase. 11 and 12. Those spots are based on most wins and points. And let's face it, Carl Edwards has not won a race since Las Vegas. Race number 3 of last season.
You're exactly right, and there has been a huge drought of getting to victory lane, obviously. They pointed themselves last year into a championship opportunity, and because they didn't win races, that race team, he didn't win a championship. They're in the same boat. This worst team has had, this race team has had no consistency, and there's nothing that tells me that Carl Edwards, besides his interview, is going to be in victory lane tonight. I don't think he gets there.
Well, you've got to bring a sharp car. His cars haven't shown that sharpness, and you got to bring a sharp sword if you want to fight at Bristol. You know, you talk about Kyle and Jeff, but you know what? The aggression. Kyle's good on the restarts. He's going to need that here. It goes to Kyle tonight, but that's all over next week. It goes at Atlanta. It's Jeff. It's Carl. This battle between those 3 guys.
Jeff and Carl are done.
I said Kyle, sword
Jeff
fighter.
and Carl are done.
No, listen, let me tell you one thing. I'm coming back at you right now, buddy.
All right.
You're talking about Carl Edwards. You're talking that guy down a little bit. I talked to Carl Edwards in a graduate a little while ago. This guy is ready for this race. He has won so many races on the concrete racetracks. We nicknamed him Concrete Carl.
But most of those races were nationwide races.
Oh, come on. Don't spoil the party right now. This guy's jacked up. He can get it done. I'm down there talking. He says his car's handling good. He's got all the confidence in the world. And I know one thing. When you're down and you're out, somehow you reach down, you find something extra. And I believe Carl Edwards has found something extra. You heard his interview with Doc Punch a little while ago. This guy's fired up.
He says that every week, though, Russ.
Yeah, but you know what? He's got a little something extra in him right now.
I don't know if I find this interesting for whatever reason. When you talk to all 3 of those guys, they didn't rule out this race.
Right.
They didn't rule out Atlanta, and they also pointed to Richmond. All 3 of them are good at all 3 of these tracks.
Only one of them's going to win.
It's going down to the wire at Richmond. It's going down to the wire at Richmond.
And it's not Carl Edwards.
I'm sure a few of you may agree or disagree with this conversation, and if that is the case, join us in our convo on Twitter. It is the hashtag Pit Studio, where we will be a little bit later when we get done enjoying this environment. Our handle is at NASCAR ESPN, and this is the fun part. Obviously, we're sitting in a very unique location. Normally the pit studio right there. That's 4 very lonely chairs. But we want to know where you are sitting. Tweet us. Tweet your seat. That is the hashtag. We'll use pictures of your seats throughout the race and the show tonight. Our little way to get involved. When we come back, with 3 races to go before the chase, we'll tell you why one team is making a major change by going back to the familiar. But first, this isn't just a race. This is definitely a night about a race and a place. It's Bristol, the last great Coliseum.
I smell trouble a brewing.
In the beginning, there was a silence ripped from a quiet mountain road. That's how all this got started, and why there are 100,000 plus sitting around a high-banked racetrack tonight in rural Tennessee. We're a nation of stadiums, bland and well-built with good sight lines and wide concourses, named for an ever-shifting swamp of corporations. But there are only a few coliseums. A coliseum offers something more than the utility of seats and vendors. It is so of a place that it seems like it wasn't built so much as it sprung from the dirt. The Bristol Motor Speedway was born from the mountains around it. Long before celebrity drivers in a racing wine country, rough-faced men roared through these hills and hollers when the sun went down. It's easy to imagine those big block V8s still hammering around suicide turns. Cam, bore, stroked, supercharged. Even empty, the track at Bristol is connected to those midnight runs. And when it's full, when the sun goes down and the lights go up, every one of the 100,000 people crammed into the stadium, into that Coliseum, get transported. The distance between past and present blurs, then disappears. And once again, roaring engines echo in the hills and hollers of northeast Tennessee.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Countdown on ABC. Brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bristol!
Thank you, everybody. I know you want to vote for me. Jimmy Johnson driving the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. Have a good night.
Hey, I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr. Have a good time tonight. Kyle Busch driving the number 18 M&M's Camry. Who's ready to get rowdy? He's number 18. That's starting position.
We told you nothing about this night was normal. Everything is just a little bit on the fun, relaxed side. Hey, Kevin Harvick has never won this race. Tonight he'll start 13, but there are lots of changes over at that 29 team. And if you were listening to the radio last week at Michigan, you probably aren't surprised.
The adjustment there. What the was it? Down on the right side air and wedge in the left rear.
Got what we got. Let's everybody settle down and work on it. We ain't gonna gain a damn thing by arguing. Let's work on it.
Just like I told you guys yesterday, you can't wedge air out of the right side tires. It's done the same thing every time we've done it. Quit trying it. 10-4. Why don't we even have meetings?
So that crew chief you heard, that was Shane Wilson. He's not here this week because Gil Martin has been reinstated as Kevin Harvick's crew chief.
Yes, he has. And one thing I told you guys earlier this year, I've known Kevin Harvick for a long time, and the thing I admire about him is he is relentless towards perfection. I told you once he and his wife Delana had their child, he would refocus on this race car. Well, guess what? He's refocusing on this race car, and he is so determined to get this race car back into contention no matter what it takes, whether it's crew members, crew chiefs, whoever. They have to do a better job. They lost Scott Miller, who was their director of competition for 18 years at RCR, to MWR. This team has been struggling, talking about RCR, mightily throughout the season, and I think Kevin Harvick's had enough.
So while they're struggling, Brad Keselowski has been on quite a roll, really, for the last year. He's riding a top 10 finishing streak. That is the best he's ever had in his career. And tonight he'll try to make it 3 straight. Doc?
2 in a row. He's He's led a combined 371 laps the last 2 races he won here. And Brad, you said, and I quote, "When I come to Bristol, I love this place. Something deep inside of me rises up and takes over." What is it that comes inside, and what does it do?
I think it's just a higher level of focus and intensity because you know when you come into the 8 here at Bristol that this track's going to ask for 100%, and I love that challenge. So that's why it's a special place for me.
Hey, I love the retro paint scheme honoring your predecessor in the number 2, future Hall of Famer Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, it is sweet, isn't it? You know, Miller Lite, and congratulations to Rusty for being in the Hall of Fame, getting elected. Decided, well, what better way than to celebrate Rusty than to throw out one of his paint schemes, and it's beautiful. This is the paint scheme he won his 50th race in and swept Bristol. And boy, we'd love to do that here today. So trying to keep up with Rusty in this 2 car. That's not easy to do, but we're going to give it a shot tonight.
You look like him. You going to drive like him?
Watch out.
Hey, Rusty, he said bump and run. Here I come.
Hey, I'll tell you what, whatever it takes, you know, I know I'm supposed to be not too partial, but that 2 car looks awful good. And last time I saw that paint scheme, that baby is a victory lane. And there was the very first win I ever had in my life right here at Bristol. And there was my 50th win right there. And, man, I love this place, guys.
So because it's a big night for you, we're going to let you start first. You've obviously been here to victory lane 9 times, 7 with that paint scheme. Who will follow in your footsteps tonight, sir?
Well, I'm picking the number 2 car, Brad Keselowski, not because he's running the paint scheme, but because he was second fastest in practice, and the guy has won the last 2 races here at Bristol. It's got to be a good pick for me.
You don't have to love it, but you better like it. Kyle Busch wins tonight and vaults himself into the chase.
Hey, Greg Biffle was looking for some love. I'm going to give the Biff some love. Plus, he's got a fast car.
And guess what? Enough talk, all action. When we come back, it's Alan, DJ, and Andy. Guess what, guys? It's time to go racing at Bristol.